And there we have it. Our first live broadcast has just kicked off. Welcome, everybody. Although I assume there is nobody because I can't actually see anything. This is really more of a test broadcast to see how it goes, see if I can get the tech right, see if I can get the conversation going. I believe LinkedIn Live says this has to happen for a minimum of 10 minutes. And longer, otherwise it doesn't get viewed as a proper broadcast. Plus, it also doesn't give time for your audience to be notified that you are online and that you're currently having a conversation and presenting. So with that in mind, I may well just introduce myself and start this broadcast with my new catchphrase. And my new catchphrase is dazed and confused. That's how you feel, because every time I hear that, if I had a penny for every time I heard the phrase, I don't know where to start, I'm dazed, I'm confused, I have no idea, digital is overwhelming, what do I do, where do I go, who do I speak to, how do I do this? I'd be extremely wealthy, like really, like I'd have a lot of money. The truth is, digital can be overwhelming. Digital can be incredibly overwhelming, especially if you're new to it. It's been around for a while, but it doesn't change the fact that there are so many things happening in the digital ecosystem right now, and they won't change. There's going to be new platforms. There's going to be new social media platforms. There's going to be the new thing, the new shiny thing. So don't be a magpie. Don't get caught chasing every little shiny thing that comes your way, every little shiny item that you think, oh, okay, everybody's talking about TikTok. We should be on TikTok. Remember, take a step back, breathe, don't panic, don't rush in, and make sure that you have adequate budget allocated and you know how to allocate your budget. So today's broadcast is really, like I said, it's raw, it's uncensored. As you can see, I'm testing a whole lot of new technology, testing the mic, testing the camera, got a green screen behind me, looking to see if I'm getting any blurry, funny colors there. So if my eyes wander off the screen, I'm checking time, making sure that I'm fitting in the allotted time. And the next broadcast will probably happen more on a regular basis, around about the 10 o'clock British summertime mark. And as soon as we switch over just to GMT +1, I think, London time, and I'm going to go through a series of sessions where I'm going to break down my digital training that I've given to thousands of companies over the years and just make it a lot more simpler. Yes, you can write some great posts on LinkedIn, but at the end of the day, the truth is most people, and I'm talking from CMOs all the way down to business owners, when they look at digital marketing or the digital ecosystem, they are overwhelmed. There is so much happening and changing every day that they just don't quite know where to start. So for fear of recrimination and reprisals, right? You can see I didn't have that scripted. No, really, step back, take a breath, think about what is it that you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to create brand awareness? Are you trying to create a new brand, or are you actually just trying to get sales? Because if you're measuring your metrics and you're using the vanity metrics, that doesn't convert in sales. I've read this amazing book by a guy called David Ogilvy. If you haven't heard of him, you've probably been under a rock all your life. Started a small advertising company called Ogilvy and Mather, and then became Ogilvy. In the matter of 20 odd years, they became an incredibly large agency. And there's a lot of information in his book, and he speaks about a lot of great things. But at the end of the day, what's advertising? What's marketing, if not to drive people to buy your product? We're not really worried about how many people look at us, how many people view our post. What we really are concerned about is how do we get sales? So this series is going to talk about where do you start, what things you should look at, what things you absolutely have to make sure you've taken care of, and what items are nice to have. The first thing is that you absolutely, essentially have to know is your numbers. What are your numbers? What are your costs? What are your profits? What are your margins? What is the lifetime value of your customer? If you don't know the lifetime value of your customer and you're trying to embark on digital marketing, you really are running into the forest blindfolded, or going to lie down in a bed of stinging nettles, because you don't know what you don't know, and your expectations would probably completely unrealistic, which means they're never going to be met. So how about we step back? Like I keep saying, step back, take a deep breath, and how much are you going to make if you close a transaction? What is the lifetime value of a client? And when I say lifetime value of a client, I mean calculate the numbers. So if you sell a product for £100, is it a once-off sale? Will that customer come back in every 3 months, every quarter? Is it a subscription sale? Is it a service that you're offering? That calculated over a 12-month or a 24-month period will give you the lifetime value of your customer. So if you're honest, for ease of reference, we generally keep it down to a 12-month cycle, unless you know you've got a 6 or an 8-year client, in which case then obviously multiply the numbers out. But let's take a look at lifetime value. Lifetime value is a very important metric, because if you know how much money a customer is going to turn over, or generate or bring into your business over a 12-month period, you can then step it back and calculate the other numbers. The next number is, what is your cost of acquisition for that customer? How much money are you actually going to allow to spend to grow and get that customer? And generally, as a rule of thumb, I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule, but let's work on a 14% average of your gross profit. That gives you a number that you can work on. So I'm going to use £1,000 because it's an easy number to work with. And let's assume that our gross profit on £1,000 is £1,000. Wouldn't that be amazing? And for £1,000 of gross profit, we're going to say take 14% of that and allocate that to a fair cost of acquisition. That gives you an amount of £140. Obviously, move that up and down depending on your gross profit. Is that a realistic number? Do you think £140 can buy you a new customer? If you feel that is correct, then how many customers do you want? Multiply that by the amount. So let's say we want 10 customers. That gives us an advertising budget for the year of £1,400. Is that realistic? Can you spend £1,400 and get 10 customers who are going to spend £1,000 a year of GP with you? If you can, then you know what you can spend. And well, then it's quite simple. £1,400 divided by 12 means you've got £120 to spend on advertising every month. And you've got 12 months to find those 10 customers. Now, when you break those numbers down and you go, oh, wow, I've only got £120 to spend on advertising, you need to relook at the numbers, or maybe consider your approach. Are there other ways to do this? Could you possibly build a list? And then we step back the acquisition costs and we go, okay, we understand £140 is not enough. So maybe what we should look at is, can we build a first-person email database? Can we connect with people? Can we spend time connecting with people? Yeah, we can. There are places where you can do this without having to spend an arm and a leg, but it is going to cost you time. Until such time as you've gotten to a point where you can actually spend the kind of money you need to spend to get the clients you want. Obviously, if you've got a big budget and you can generate that recurring revenue, throw it at paid media. But if you don't, and in most cases you probably don't, it would be a good idea to start somewhere where you can offer your services in a community, where you can engage with that community. My personal favorite for community is networking. You saw stuff that. And LinkedIn is the place to go, because you can say hello to everybody, greet everybody. If they greet you back, you can have a conversation. If they don't greet you, you can find somebody else to speak to. If nobody speaks to you on LinkedIn, try changing your content. Try adding content, but you do need to be there regularly. So the key thing here is make sure you show up, make sure you rock up, make sure you greet people. Don't just connect for the sake of collecting numbers. I have a post on my profile where I talk about collectors. We don't like collectors, because the point of LinkedIn is networking. It's almost like going into a networking event, walking to every single person saying, give me your business card, and then walking away. Why on earth would you do that? So let's start with how much money can you spend? Then if you don't have any money, let's start with, do you have any skills? Can you speak? Can you sell? Well, if you can, then LinkedIn is a great place to go. Do videos. This is live. This is raw. I'm trying out new technology. It's not about being super polished. It's about being real, about being who you are and sharing your story. Happy to help you grow on LinkedIn. Happy to help you grow in digital. All you need to do is just speak to somebody, reach out, connect with them. So I'm going to go through a quick slide that I've put on the screen of where we start. And we always start with the language, assuming, of course, you've now worked out that you need to be somewhere. It helps a lot if you know what your requirements are. And if you look at the top of this little diagram that I put onto the screen, analyze your requirements. What are you after? Are you chasing money, leads, sales, whatever it is? That's your choice. I strongly recommend that if you're starting out young, you chase sales because you need to get those sales. And to get those sales, you need to be able to close all your conversations, which means you need to use the correct language. So analyze your requirements. We're going for sales. What are the words that your customers use? Not the words that you use. Yes, we all know our jargon. I can throw all sorts of jargon at you, but that's not the point. You lose your customers when you throw in jargon. So step away from that and think about the language that they use. Great place to start is to go look at your testimonials, look at your recommendations, listen to people. If you're brand new and you've got no customers, listen when you throw the idea of what it is, your product that you want to take to the market. Listen to what people have to say and let that product come back to you and listen to those words. When you know those words, then you go to Google and you type in those words and you see what comes up. What are people saying? How are they selling? How are they pitching? Then you go to your website, because at the end of the day, building a community is one thing, but you still need to take that entire conversation offline somewhere to do the transaction. So it helps if you've got a website that backs up what you are selling and uses that language. And this is where SEO comes in. SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's not restricted to Google. Search engine is restricted to anything that provides content when you type in a query. That includes LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Wherever you're going to search, there's going to be an algorithm that's going to present the content. So generally, that algorithm is going to be driven by language, and the language that your prospects will use. They don't know what you sell. Half the time, they don't know what the job is that they need doing, but they need a solution to a problem which they haven't quite identified. So they need to find you. And for them to find you, they actually need to type in some words. And if your words match their words, your odds of being found go up dramatically. But if your space, i.e. your room, your setting, your background, your profile, any of that information is kind of sketchy, kind of dodgy, you haven't bothered to put a nice head and shoulders shot up, you haven't put up a great background on your LinkedIn profile, you don't have great content on your profile, you have terrible content on your website, you never post on Facebook, don't stress, because your prospect is just going to move on to the next person and the next one, and then until they find somebody who echoes their sentiment. And that's why it's so important that you get the language right. Update your website, update your profile, update all your social media so that the language you are using is language that your prospects can relate to. Then build a sitemap. If you don't have a sitemap, speak to your developer. You need a sitemap. You need to submit it to something called Google Search Console or Webmaster Tools. And you need to have Google Analytics. It's basics, just like you would have your insights on Facebook, you would have your SSI score on LinkedIn. You want to know if your traffic's working or if your traffic's not working. So make sure you put all of that content together. Then go and check that it's working, check that you're tracking, you're recording, and then share that content. Get out there. One of the things I've discovered on LinkedIn is by putting my articles that I have on my website onto my LinkedIn profile and my Facebook profile, I am increasing quite dramatically the traffic to my website. Why? Because Google is seeing me as a credible subject matter expert, not to mention the fact that I'm getting people reading the articles and going to the website. So don't be afraid to share the content. Get it out there. And then evaluate. and then go back and start again. And that's kind of where we go. We start with the numbers. Make sure you know what your numbers are, how much you can spend, how much you want to invest, because at the end of the day, it's an investment. And the funny thing is, we speak to a lot of companies, they'll invest a fortune in business cards, suits, uniforms for the brand color, everything. But when it comes to getting their message out there, oh no, then they don't want to spend anything. And that kind of doesn't make sense. Like if you're going to open up a store, it's all about position, 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 location, location, location. Well, if you've got a really amazing product and you have a terrible location, nobody's going to find you. Nobody's going to do the business with you. The words, "you are your own best kept secret," should be the worst phrase you ever hear, because you should not be your own best kept secret. Digital is out there. Get out there, network, meet with people, speak to people, and you will find a way to grow your business. So, guys, this is the Digital Coach signing off, helping you be less dazed, less confused, and less frightened to tackle the overwhelming world of digital. I look forward to catching up with you again shortly. My broadcast will generally run between 10 and 11 in the morning, British summertime. If you want to have a chat or you just feel the need to reach out to me, please feel free. Click, connect, DM me, follow me. I look forward to chatting to you guys. You have a fantastic week further. Thank you. And now I'm going to look to end the broadcast. End in the broadcast.